question is, why is owning your own business and baking and pastry such a tough thing to get into? And so how I came to this why question is that, obviously, as you should know by now, like, I'm going to Kendall College, and what I want to major in is in baking and pastry. And so I had this idea to turn that into a why question. And so how I got to that point is that I've had a conversation with my parents, obviously, about what it takes to get into it and how difficult it is. And so I started doing research beforehand about baking businesses and how if they fail or ones that are successful and what it takes to get into it. And a lot of the articles and stuff that I came across are about how baking businesses tend to fail most of the time because of certain requirements, which led to the question, yeah. And so after doing research, I came across like 6 articles. 3 of them right here, The Rise of a Cookpreneur and a Challenge, and she basically talks about she realizes what it would take to run a baking business is, and she's like questioning her plans. And then for Not the Forever Job, she talks about the fears she has of owning a business, like the valid fears, like, okay, am I going to make enough money? How am I going to sell my product? Are there going to be customers? And then many other things that turn into fears as well. And then the top 3 reasons food businesses fail, another article, also goes into mainly what goes into running a successful business basically comes from you, and how it comes from your money in your pocket, and so you have to be fully invested into it. And then also the fear of like keeping those repeat customers, even if they like are once in a while or whatever. Next slide. And then the other 3, this bakery had made 102,000 cupcakes, and it basically talks about how this bakery had put up a Groupon deal on the internet, and how they almost basically lost their business because they had to hire in more workers to come help them make these cupcakes because so many people were coming in because of this coupon. And so how small business decisions like that can make or break your bakery. And then 7 hard truths about owning a business. It's basically about realizing that you're not the only one with that idea and with that dream. And so there are going to be other people who are competing with you as well. And what makes a home bakery business successful is basically just like, again, money, how it comes from you, and just the financing of it. And so after that wasn't quite enough, I had to get interviews, obviously. And so I interviewed Rosary's Bakery. I don't know how many of you go to this bakery or know it. But in the interview, he basically talks about how basically it's hard to manage personal life with business life, and I like how he made the comparison between it's also like being a doctor. Like when you're on call, you're on call. You have to go in and help and save that patient or do whatever you have to do for that day. Just like with running a bakery, whatever happens, say if you have a break-in or if it's money or if it's like ingredients issue, you have to be there to handle that issue. And then dealing with competition, like supermarkets and stuff, because you know that supermarkets have a lot of baking sections and stuff like that, where it's like cheaper rather than going to the bakery. And then there's a lot that goes into running a bakery, like, you know, handling ingredients and managing customers and pricing and stuff like that. And then for my second interview, I did Weber's Bakery. It's basically the same thing as the first one, just repeat customers, having experience and knowledge on what you're doing, basically having that background and that experience before you can get into going into a bakery, because that way you know what you're already kind of doing. And then competition against supermarkets and with other bakeries, and then knowing what you're getting into, because it's not as easy as it looks. And so after doing all of this research and the interviews, it seemed like the answer was there, but I was digging too deep when it was just really in my face. So with the interviews, one thing that they had in common was the competition with the supermarkets. And so that's what turned into my how question. And the top 2 reasons baking businesses fail is because of supermarkets and money. Which turned into how can we make it easier to run a baking business. And the solution to that was eliminating baking sections out of grocery stores, and which will lead to bakeries getting more money, because if we eliminate the baking sections in grocery stores, then you will have more customers coming into the bakeries, because then that's to be the only kind of way for them to get like cakes, cupcakes, and cookies and stuff like